Hey there, I'm Xiao, a name given to me by my former foes. Um, I am currently taking the long road to obtaining my MD in neuropsychiatry. A little bit about myself. I am a nerd and I like to observe, and I'm really good at psychology and understanding the human body. And what I want to do today is talk about sexual assault and how it affects the mind and the body long term. In 2019, I was sex trafficked, and at the time I didn't realize it until after I had gotten away and looked at everything in hindsight. During and while it was going on, before I ended up getting my full memory back and understanding what I went through in 2022, I just kind of went with this idea in my head that I was a whore. In fact, I've been called a whore a lot in my life since I was a kid. And after I got trafficked, I decided I was going to actually go and heal, right? But in me healing, I started realizing that, well, this doesn't just start at the trafficking. Trafficking is just a result of the consistencies in my life. Okay, so now we get into hypersexuality and how sexual abuse shapes and molds and trains a woman, I'd more so say, because I am still doing research on men, but I do know that some of the behavior is different than women when it comes to dealing with that. So what they don't tell you about healing is that at some point in time, they're going to tell you that you have to go and process all of the memories of the things that you've gone through in life, the bad stuff too. And it wasn't until I started actually healing and going through the memories of things that I realized that I went through a lot of sexual abuse. And I'm going to read this list off, but I also want you guys to just listen to why I'm telling you guys about this. And this isn't all of it, by the way. The first time I was too young to remember. I just remember staring at red curtains that covered the window, and then it was morning. Again, after my grandmother's funeral by my mom's best friend's daughter. That then went on for years until we finally moved to a different state and away from them, and not for that reason. Multiple family members on my mother's side of the family, cousins, uncles, two male family friends that would frequent my grandmother's trap house that was in DC. My mom had a daycare in Germany, and I watched my two brothers take turns go into the closet with a 2-year-old. One of my brothers got caught. My mom whooped him but never informed her mother. The McCrays, they were our babysitters sometime when we lived in Germany. India at Bible Way. My sister and I shared a room. We were 18 months apart. Things happened. She used to laugh. My sister and my brother used to like to play house growing up. My older sister and my older brother used to like playing house. And they were babies while my youngest brother and I were the parents. And my siblings would insist that we had to do what mommies and daddies did. In fact, broke character to explain to us that we had to do it. Older men and guys in my neighborhood, I was just a kid, maybe a preteen, a teenager. But they made sure I made it home safely every day before my mom got home so I wouldn't get beat by her. So that's a good thing. I watched my mom pimp my sister to her boyfriend that she dated for over a decade. And I listened to my sister tell me every explicit detail of what they would do to each other, and I watched it happen. I started coming around when I was in the second grade. And when he started coming around when I was in the second grade. And when he noticed that I was an observant child who vocalized my observations out loud, he was able to convince my mother that I was untrustworthy. My mom started beating me more. And it was just always really cold to me for the most part. By the 5th grade, I was always on punishment because my mom needed a reason to keep me from talking. And so she had to keep me around her. Meaning, either she was gonna make a problem, I was in trouble for no reason, or she was very abusive. She used to beat me really bad. There were points in time where she beat me multiple times at different ages, and I almost flunked the grade. I was a terrible student because I was always so tired from the stuff that I was experiencing at home and behind closed doors. And I did talk to people about it, but also at the time, it was kind of like going through it and realizing and understanding, like looking back on it, there was so much that I was going through. And I realize now when I see that a lot of people really didn't care. And if they did, mostly everybody called me a liar about things. And granted, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, so I did lie about some things, but it's not the stuff that people think, and that's something that I'm 100% going to share along the road of me talking about my journey of really how all of this, like each thing, it's in chronological order. So every time I experienced one thing, and you're around environments of people who tell you to stop talking about it, don't tell nobody, you're being beat on, people are expecting you to be a well-behaved child. You have a mom who's dating a pedophile. Everyone's in the house is aware of it. And she knows that you if you get the opportunity, you're going to tell somebody who can do something. So what does she do? I'm on punishment all the time. I had to stay in my room. So I started reading multiple books. She used to make all of us read books and stuff at a certain time, but it just got to a point where she wasn't making us read books. I was just always on punishment. And she just used to make me sit in a room most of my time. So even when it came to the social stuff, we haven't even gotten to the part about what all of this stuff did to my brain over a period of time and why people thought I was weird in the first place. Like, when I tell you guys, I went on a real serious healing journey, and I had to sit down and dissect everything. And everyone says it's just high school. And everyone says it's the past, I let it go. It's easy for the perpetrators to let it be the past and let it go. Always. Everybody, if you have a Facebook, there's this frequent post that I've been seeing. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, and it says, oftentimes the people who need to therapy don't go to therapy. Their victims do. When I went to therapy and realized that I'm still not done. When I went to therapy and realized everything, it made me more curious to understanding my body and why I was a hypersexual person, where I was going wrong in building relationships and bonds, not realizing that, yes, there are people out here that will lie to you. There are people out here that will play with you. There are people out here that don't mean you well and they'll stay close. There are people who envy you. There are people who just simply hate you for no reason. There are people who will lie on you to make you look bad because you really are her for real in real life, or we can say, him as well. But that's life for real. But I realized how a lot of my behavior and a lot of the things that I went through that a lot of people judge me for, I had to get to the root of how did I get there? And realizing it went so far back down to when I was really young, because this is something that has been actively going on in my family's bloodline for a very long time at this point. But anyways, let's continue. Gotta unlock the phone. Let's see, where did we leave off? High school is where it gets interesting, because this is where I was kind of hypersexual, but only with one person for the most part. Things happened. And this one person is like even my entire experience with him was pretty 10 years, you know? So I told a male friend of mine about the abuse that I was experiencing, the sexual abuse I was experiencing. And I think with him being so young, he took it as an invitation to use me. So I spent a good bit of my high school being coerced and pressured, and sometimes like some people would like threaten and lie on me. So not just him, but they just really, I was being so violated. There were things that happened where I even did try and stop and say wait, and the people would just pretty much, you know, tell me like just hold on a second. And even when I would say wait, hold on, they would be like, no, take this. And at the time I didn't realize how detrimental it was, because I was just like, well, I mean, you know. But realizing how all of that is shaped and molded by what I've been experiencing my whole life, and somehow I had to get to this point even in therapy of realizing that most of my sexual experiences was some form of way of a guy like taking it. That's therapy, another thing you have to explore in yourself, because now there are things that you probably like that you don't like. It's kind of similar to men who are straight and then they go through, let's say, they get buzzed down by 12 guys. Most of the guys that happens to, they just end up turning gay. I'm not gonna say most, but I'm not gonna say all, but I'll say that happens too. And those that I know there are people who know exactly what I'm talking about. So over a period of time, all of this is affecting your brain, your mind. And remember, just hold off. I hope y'all keeping up. I'm going somewhere with this. At the time, it hurt my feelings, but no one ever told me it's okay to say no at this time. Like I was saying, like growing up, what I experienced, because let's say I was being touched by a specific uncle or cousin, they would intentionally always make me seem like I am causing conflict around individuals, so I was looking like a problem child all of the time. But then in private, they were soothing me in other ways. So even like if you really think about that, experiencing that, because most of the people who are doing it are telling you don't tell anybody.